Okay, are we ready to continue?
Yes, Bante.
Okay, so this is an additional session that we've added for the afternoon of September 7th, Monday. So this is 2:30 p.m. and in place of the scheduled meditation, we'll have a shorter session to go through the final chapter of the Visuddhimagga. So this is chapter 23, and now I'm going to share the screen. Okay, do you see the text now of chapter 23?
Yes, Bhante.
Oh, okay. Okay. So now this chapter is the final chapter of Visuddhimagga, and it's called The Benefits in Developing, that's Moli's translation, in developing understanding, but the word here is panya. So it should be the benefits in developing wisdom. Okay, so in reply to the question, what are the benefits in developing wisdom? The answer should be that there are many hundreds of benefits, and it's impossible to explain them all in detail, but briefly, three benefits. One is the removal of the various defilements. Second is the experience of the taste of the noble fruit. Third is the ability to enter the attainment of cessation. And the fourth is the achievement of worthiness to receive gifts. So actually 4 benefits here. So the removal of the various defilements, this was actually treated in greater detail in chapter 22. I just went through it briefly and mentioned the eradication of the 10 fetters, but the defilements are organized into various groups. The 3 or 4 asavas, which we translate as the influxes or taints, the 4 floods, the 4 bonds, the 7 underlying tendencies, and so forth, many different groups of defilements. And with the attainment of the 4th path, the path of arhatship, all defilements are eliminated. So for the details, you can go back to chapter 22. But here we have something called, a little poetically, the taste of the noble fruit. Okay, what is meant here by the taste of the noble fruit? So this is a sustained experience of the fruit corresponding to the path. We saw in the morning that the meditator who reaches a particular path in this cognitive process of the path will experience either 2 or 3 moments of the appropriate or corresponding fruit. So when you reach the path of stream entry, you experience 2 moments, which are called the fruit of stream entry, and so forth. When you attain the path of arhatship, you experience 2 moments of the fruit of arhatship. And if you have quick faculties or sharp faculties, you experience 3 moments of the fruit. Okay, now the path attainment, each path attainment is attained only once. You never, after you reach the path of stream entry, you never go back and attain the path of stream entry a second time. And so with the other paths, because the function of the path is to eradicate the defilements, to eradicate, or in the case of this once returning path, to weaken certain defilements. And eradication of the defilements gives access to the fruition. Now, after achieving a certain path and going through this path and fruition process, the noble disciple of any of the four particular levels, it is said, can then enter upon the fruition state as a sustained, continuous meditative experience. So you only attain the path of stream entry once, just for that one mind moment. But once you become a stream enterer, if you wish, you can go into a special meditative absorption, which is called the fruition attainment of stream entry. And in that attainment, one can experience the bliss of nirvana for a sustained period of time, depending on how long you determine to remain in it. And that holds true for the path, for the fruit of stream entry, the fruit of once returning, the fruit of non-returning, the fruit of arhatship. Each disciple, each noble disciple at any of the four levels can make the determination to enter the meditative attainment of the fruition. And then with that determination and the preparatory practice, they enter into that fruition and remain in it for a continuous period of time. Could be half an hour, several hours, even a whole day or longer. And in that fruition attainment, they are directly experiencing nirvana or nibbana itself, the bliss and peace of nibbana. Okay, so let us see how the Visuddhimagga now explains it. So the taste of the noble fruit is a benefit in developing wisdom or understanding, for it is the fruitions of stream entry, once returning, non-returning, and arhatship that are called the noble fruit. And then its taste, the taste of the fruit is experienced in two ways. That is to say, it occurs in the cognitive series of the path. That is, right after as I explained, right after one attains the path, then there occurs the 2 or 3 mind moments of the fruition. But that is a very, very fleeting, very, very brief experience. But the other way in which one experiences the fruit is in what's called the attainment of fruition. So that is the sustained or continuous meditative attainment in which the mind enters into the fruition experience and remains there for an extended period of time. Okay, then there's it to expound this, he raises certain questions. So what is fruition attainment? So it is absorption in the cessation in which the noble fruition consists. In other words, it's a meditative absorption in the experience of nibbana. So who attains it? Now, ordinary people, that's people without any enlightenment experience, don't attain it because it is beyond their reach. But all the noble ones can attain it because it is within their reach. But those who have attained a higher path do not attain a lower fruition. So if one attains, say, the path and fruit of non-returning, you don't enter the fruition of stream entry or once returning. If you attain the path and fruit of arhatship, you don't attain the fruition of the non-returner. And those who have only reached the lower path do not attain a higher fruition. So if you reach the path of stream entry, you can't enter the fruit of the once returner, the non-returner, or the arhat or arhatship. But each of the noble disciples attains the fruition that corresponds to their level of attainment. Okay, so why do they attain it? So the reason is for the purpose of abiding in bliss here and now. And of course, if one is a jhana attainer and one enters the jhana, say you enter the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, we could say in that sense one is also dwelling in bliss here and now. But it is said that the dwelling in the fruition attainment is much, much more refined and blissful and peaceful than dwelling in the mundane jhana attainment. Of course, the regular jhana attainments are mundane attainments. In the jhana, one has some kind of image as the object of meditative absorption, whereas in the fruition attainment, one takes the nibbana as the object of the meditative absorption. Okay, so the noble ones attain it thinking we shall experience the noble supramundane or world transcending bliss, and then deciding on the duration they attain the attainment of fruition whenever they want to. Okay, so how does its attainment come about? Okay, a noble disciple who seeks the attainment of fruition should go into solitude. Then he should see formations with insight by way of rise and fall. So one passes through the sequence of insight knowledges, starting with rise and fall, but one goes through them in very quick succession. One doesn't have to struggle to go through them, but they just come, one just goes through them like one after another. Okay, then insight progresses as far as conformity. Then comes the change of lineage knowledge, still taking, but here it says the change of lineage knowledge has formations as its object. But then immediately after the change of lineage, then the mind enters into the experience or the attainment of fruition with nibbana as its object. And in this case, because the determination is made not to reach the higher path, but to enter fruition, and so one enters into fruition, not one doesn't attain the higher path. If one wants to attain the higher path, then one has to have made a previous determination. I want to attain the higher path. Then one goes through the insight knowledges and one strives to reach the higher path. But it's, if you're determined to reach the higher path, it's uncertain that you're going to reach it. That depends on all of your spiritual faculties being strong enough, mature enough, and one's merits being abundant enough to reach the higher path. But if you want to enter the fruition attainment, then there's no barrier to it. So you enter the fruition attainment that is corresponds to one's present level of path attainment. Okay, then how is the fruition attainment made to last? It's made to last, it says, in 3 ways. So there are 3 conditions for the persistence of the signless mind deliverance. They are not bringing to mind any signs, any marks of conditioned phenomena, bringing to mind the signless element, that is, bringing nibbana to mind, and the prior volition. And so it's the prior volition that determines in advance the time of the duration of the attainment. And so if you want to enter into fruition for a half an hour, you say, let me enter fruition for a half an hour. And then you do the preparatory work, then you enter into fruition. And when the half an hour comes to an end, then you spontaneously emerge. If you want to be in fruition for a full day, you'll be in it a full day, and then you'll emerge at the end of the day. Okay, then with the emergence from fruition, what happens at the end of the fruition is that the mind drops into the bhavanga consciousness, the life continuum. Okay, we don't need some of these other details. Okay, so this is that's the discussion of the attainment of fruition. And that is the fruition attainment that occurs not following the path, but the fruition attainment as a sustained meditative state that can last for an extended period of time. Okay, the next benefit of wisdom is called the attainment of cessation. And in Pali, this is called Nirodha Samapatti. Let me type that out. Yeah, the fruition attainment is called Pala Samapatti. So this is the meditative attainment of fruition. And now we're going to discuss the state that's called Nirodha Samapatti, the meditative attainment of cessation. And in the suttas, this is also known as Sanya Vedayita Nirodha, the cessation of perception and feeling. Okay, now again we have the attainment of cessation treated by way of a number of questions. Okay, so what is the attainment of cessation? It is the non-occurrence of consciousness and its concomitants, that is the mental factors that go along with consciousness. In other words, this is citta and chaitasikas, the stopping of citta and chaitasikas owing to their progressive cessation. And we're going to see what's meant by progressive cessation. Okay, so who attains this attainment of cessation? So the only ones who can attain this cessation are non-returners and arahats who have mastered the 8 meditative attainments of samatha. That is, who have mastered the 4 jhanas and the 4 formless or immaterial attainments. So even arhats who reach arhatship just through bare insight practice, or arhats who have the 4 jhanas but not the 4 formless attainments, they do not reach this attainment of cessation. Even arhats who have the 3 lower formless meditations but not the 4th formless meditation aren't able to enter cessation. To attain cessation, one has to have mastered the 8 samapattis, the 8 mundane meditative attainments, the 4 jhanas, and the 4 arupa or formless meditations, the base of boundless space, base of boundless consciousness, base of nothingness, base of neither perception nor non-perception. And so in order to enter the attainment of cessation, one has to draw upon 2 powers. That is the power of tranquility or serenity or samadhi, and the power of insight, the power of wisdom. Okay, then we just jump to the question, how does its attainment come about? Skip some of these details. Okay, so first, why do they attain it? And the answer given is being wearied by the occurrence and dissolution of formations of sankharas. They attain it thinking, let us dwell in bliss by being without consciousness here and now and reaching the cessation that is nibbana. But the commentary explains, they say that it is as though reaching nibbana without the remainder of result of past clinging. Now there's a difference between the attainment of fruition and the attainment of cessation. In the attainment of fruition, consciousness and the mental activities are still present, and they are taking as their object nibbana, and they're experiencing the bliss of nibbana. But in the attainment of cessation, consciousness and all mental activities stop completely. And so when it's said that this is dwelling in bliss, it's just in a metaphorical way of speaking, because there's no feeling of bliss in this state, but it's an utter cessation of all mental activities. Okay, how does its attainment come about? Okay, we have to look at this in detail. Okay, so when a monk, or it can be attained by lay people who have reached the stage of non-returning, but the example is given in terms of the monk. When he wants to enter cessation, okay, he takes the meal, cleans up after the meal and so on, maybe takes a little rest, then goes to his meditation place, sits down, crosses the legs and so forth. Then he enters or attains the first jhana, then emerges from the jhana and contemplates the constituents of that jhana, the various mental factors in the jhana, contemplates them with insight as impermanent, dukkha, and non-self. After that, he attains the second jhana, emerges, and then contemplates the constituents of the jhana as impermanent, dukkha, non-self. Then again, he does the same thing with the third jhana, fourth jhana, going all the ways up to the base of boundless consciousness. then he emerges and contemplates the formations in the base of boundless consciousness also as impermanent, dukkha, and not self. Then he attains the base of nothingness, and on emerging from this, he has to perform 4 tasks. The first task is called non-damage to others' property. That is, he makes a resolution that while he is in this attainment, anything around him that belongs to others or that belongs to the community will not be damaged in case there is fire, a flood, wind, thieves, and so on. And it's said that his own personal property, his robe, bowl, his bed, chair, any other things that belongs to himself will automatically be protected by the spiritual power of the attainment. You know, this is a little bit mystical or magical. So if a thief comes around while he's sitting in his meditative absorption and thinks, maybe he has a nice clock on his table and thinks, let me steal that clock. For some reason, the thief will not be able to steal the clock. There'll be like a magnetic force that protects the clock from being stolen. But he has to form that determination in regard to the property of others. And so when he has resolved in this way, then these belongings will not be in danger during the 7 days. But if he doesn't make this resolution, then they might be destroyed by fire and so on. So that's the first preliminary task, making determination that there won't be any damage to others' property. Then the second preparatory task is one makes the determination that if the community, that's the Sangha, is conducting some collective activity for which I personally am needed, and I have entered into the attainment of cessation, then I will spontaneously emerge from the attainment before any monk comes to call me. So one who attains it after making that determination will spontaneously emerge from the attainment exactly when the Sangha needs him for some collective activity. If he doesn't make that preliminary determination, and then if the Sangha meets for some purpose and they need the monk, then they'll send a monk maybe to the room of the monk who's absorbed in cessation, and they say, go and call that monk. Then as soon as that the monk stands within his hearing, he merely has to say, the Sangha is waiting for you, friend. And then spontaneously, the monk will emerge from the attainment of cessation. Okay, the same thing occurs with what is called the master's summons. That is, if when the Buddha is alive, if the Buddha is calling that monk for a particular task, and so one makes the determination whether while I am sitting for 7 days in the attainment of cessation, if the master has some need for me, I will spontaneously emerge before anyone comes to call me. And so then when he's entered into the attainment, if the Buddha needs him for some reason, then spontaneously he'll emerge from cessation. But if he doesn't make that determination, then the Buddha might send a monk to call him. Then the monk will come and stand within his hearing and merely says, the master is calling you, and then he'll spontaneously emerge. And then the fourth preliminary task is to determine that the limit of one's life's determination. So one has to determine, will I go on living for the next 7 days? This is in the case of a monk who wants to enter cessation for 7 days. Will my own vital formations go on occurring for the next 7 days, or will they not? So if he sees that he's due to pass away within 7 days, then the attainment of cessation cannot prevent his death. So this means that he will emerge from the attainment before the 7 days have elapsed. And so, but if he sees that he's not going to die within the next 7 days, then he can remain in cessation for the full 7 days. Okay, so first he performs these 4 preliminary tasks. Then, now he's already attained the base of nothingness. Okay, so now he has attained the base of nothingness. He's emerged. He's done the preparatory task. Okay, then he again goes into meditation and he attains the base consisting of neither perception nor non-perception. And then the mind will continue in the state of neither perception nor non-perception just for 1 or 2 moments of consciousness. And then the entire process of consciousness will stop and he enters cessation. And so he'll then remain in the attainment of cessation for as long as he determined in advance. So it can be, he can go into it for 15 or 20 minutes, half an hour, an hour, even a full day, up to 7 days. And then he'll emerge from cessation according to the predetermined time. So the attainment will last as long as the time predetermined for its duration, unless it's interrupted by the occurrence of the exhaustion of the lifespan. That means the passing away, by the community waiting for him to join in an assembly, or because the Buddha is calling him. Okay, I think that's enough for the attainment of cessation. Then the 4th benefit of the development of wisdom is said to be worthiness to receive gifts. So it's because, and this applies particularly for monastics, because it's said that we as ordinary people, we receive gifts and offerings of robes, alms food, other things that we need, a dwelling place, but we're not really worthy to receive these gifts. We are, in a sense, using them as a loan, with the understanding that we use the offerings given to us by lay people in order to strive to completely purify ourselves. But we don't really deserve these gifts. But the only one who is really, in the highest sense, worthy of receiving these gifts is the Arahat. In fact, the word Arahat comes from the verb arahati, which means to be worthy. And so the one who is truly worthy of receiving gifts in the highest sense is the Arahat. And so when you reach Arhatship, then you become, it's said, that you are worthy of the highest offerings in the world together with its deities. And that takes us to the end of our exposition. Okay, I think we have some time now let's see what time it is now, 3:06. Let's take a 7-minute break till 3:15, and then we'll take some final rounds of questions and then some concluding tasks, including the final dedication of merits. Okay, so we come back at 3:15.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kaiti. I want to use this tea break. Just want to introduce a few resources that which can add of your practice. One resources I want to introduce is the e-library. Recently, we established an e-library and include a few modern contemporary Buddhist teachers work, and you can visit the BAUS website. Just go to the website. This is the BAUS website. It's baus.org. And if you go to visit us and go to the Uru Memorial Library, this page, and you will be able to see a few resources that we have. And here is the e-library. Okay. So we include Bhante G's work and a few academic work as well, and publication from Pariyatti and Wisdom publication. Also, just hold on a second. And Bhante's Nikayana translation is also available here. You can see the collection here. So all you have to do is, okay, let me go back to the site. When you click on visit the library here, you can sign up for e-library card. And once you fill out this form, and we will email you a library card and the passcode, so you can start to borrow books from the e-libraries. The e-library not only can access from the website, you can also download the app. It's called Libby, Libby. You can also download the Libby app towards your phone or your iPad or tablets. The e-library can be accessed from there too. If you have any question, you are welcome to email library@baus.org to learn more detail, or if you want to know more, if you are not clear about this presentation. Also, the other resources that we are having a Pali class online. It was conducted by one of our facilitators, Stephen Sass. This class is still continuing going on. So you can visit the BAUS main page. Let me just show you so it's clear that way. So you can see the first post will be an introduction to Pali over Zoom. We only have 4 or 3 more classes left, but all the previous class is available online on YouTube, so you have access to that. All right, so I finished my presentation, and if you have any question, you can email library@baos.org. Thank you. And Yvonne, I will leave it to you for the other things. Okay, stop sharing.
Yes, Kaiti.
Okay. Thank you, Yvonne.
No problem. So hello, everyone. I was hoping to just share announcement in terms of support for this class, as well as for Bandai and also for Zhuang Yan Monastery. So on the screen right now, we have the website of the monastery. So if you would like to make any kind of support in terms of financial contribution, on the upper right, you see this red button for donation.
Yvonne, I think you forgot to share the screen.
Sorry.
Yes.
Oops. It disappear again.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
So in the donation page, there are 3 selections. You could either make contribution toward the Buddhist Association, which is BELS, or the monastery, or the temple in Bronx. And then at the bottom, where you could also type in a specific designation for your donation, and then click onto the donation box. And sometimes for donation out of US, you might, in case you encounter any kind of difficulties, you can always contact BELS through either the telephone or the email at the bottom of the page. And if you would like to make a contribution towards Bandai, you can also specify your volition, typing in for Bandai, Bandai's requisite. And Bandai is very kind. So he said that he doesn't need any dana, and he suggested that we encourage people to offer dana to BELS and to make events like this one possible. So that is the words of the Bandai. So that's it.
Okay, should we go now into the questions? We ready?
Yes, Bandai.
Okay, so let us take the final round of questions. Should we take them from the breakout group or just from the participant list?
Actually, Bhante, we'll let you decide. We do have questions from the breakout room, but I know this is also the last opportunity. So
okay, no, then first we take them from the breakout group, and then we'll, if there's time, we take other questions that have arisen.
Hello, good afternoon, Bhante. Breakout group 1 does not have any questions, but wanted to express a great deal of gratitude to you for the teachings.
Okay, okay, thank you, yeah.
Bhante, this is Stephen from Breakout Group 2. We had one question, and first let me thank you on behalf of everybody for the wonderful retreat. The question specifically is about the homage to the Sangha, which we often chant, and we've chanted it here, talking about the 4 pairs of persons and the 8 individual types.
Yeah.
And the question is, does that refer specifically to the 4 attainments and path and fruit? And the second half of the question would be, since the path and the fruit seem to occur rather quickly upon one another, why make such a distinction? Why is it important to make this distinction?
Yeah, okay. Okay, so the 4 pairs of persons mentioned in that verse of homage to the Sangha are the 4 who have attained the 4 paths and the 4 who have realized the 4 fruits. But now there is a difference. I think I maybe alluded to this in the earlier discussion during this retreat. The difference in the presentation from a sutta point of view and from an Abhidhamma point of view. In fact, maybe this would be an interesting thing to look at with a little more discussion. I have to find that file. The presentation of the process of attainment from a sutta point of view.
Bhante, when you're ready, please share the screen.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Okay, this is a file called Realization of Stream Entry in the Nikayas. Okay, so here we have, this is Samyutta Nikaya chapter 25, sutta number 1. Though all of the suttas in this chapter follow the same pattern. So it starts off that the I is impermanent, changing, becoming otherwise. So the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Then one who places faith in these teachings and resolves on them thus is called a faith follower. One who has entered the fixed course of rightness, entered the plane of superior persons, transcended the plane of worldlings. Now, one is not just placing faith in these teachings, one is also understanding them or penetrating them with wisdom. But what motivates the disciple of this type to gain insight into the impermanent nature of phenomena is their faith, their trust, their resolution. And now this one has entered the fixed course of rightness, and this is taken to be the world transcending path. And so the faith follower is taken to be one of the two types of persons on the path of stream entry, according to the sutta style of presentation. And so this person has entered the fixed course of rightness. They've entered the plane of superior persons, which means these are the noble ones. So the faith follower is a noble person, an Aryan person, and transcended the plane of worldlings, overcome the level of the ordinary worldly people. And so this one is incapable of doing any deed that might lead to rebirth in the 3 lower realms, and he is incapable of passing away without realizing the fruit of stream entry. So this person is bound to reach the fruit within that life itself. So that implies that this person, the faith follower, is one on the irreversible path to the fruit of stream entry. Okay, then the counterpart of the faith follower is called the Dhamma Follower, the Dhammanusari. And this is one who relies primarily upon wisdom to cultivate the practice. And so for this person, these teachings on the impermanent nature of the 6 sense bases are accepted after pondering them to a sufficient degree with wisdom. And then this one also has entered the fixed course of rightness, entered the plane of the superior persons, transcended the plane of worldlings, and is incapable of doing any deed that might lead to the 3 lower realms of rebirth, and is incapable of passing away without having realized the fruit of stream entry. So those are, in the sutta presentation, those are 2 types who are on the irreversible path to stream entry. So you can see, and then it's incapable of passing away without having realized the fruit of stream entry. So from this, it seems that this person is on the path for an extended period of time, not just for a split, not just for a split second before the fruit occurs. Okay, and then it says, one who knows and sees these teachings, that is, who sees directly the 4 noble truths, is called a stream enterer, who is no longer bound to the lower world, fixed in destiny, with enlightenment as the destination. So this is said with regard to, the attainment of the fruit of stream entry, and it would seem that the same thing would apply to the attainment of the other fruits, that one enters upon the path to that fruit at a certain point, and then one remains on that path, cultivating the path factors until they're strong enough to bring the attainment of the fruit. But what's certain, so there seems to be an extended period of time on the path, but what is certain is that the fruit has to be attained within that life itself. And then there's another passage that we find similar, several passages here and there in the suttas, which speaks about a lay person making an offering to a monk who is on the path of stream entry, and then an offering to one who is a stream enterer, an offering to one who is on the path of the once returner, and then an offering to a once returner, and so on. And so to receive an offering of food, to count as a separate person, it seems it has to be longer than just a single mind moment. But when to receive the offering, it has to be an extended duration in time. So there's some difference between the sutta presentation and the Abhidhamma presentation. And so in the verse of homage to the Sangha, when it speaks about the 4 pairs of persons, the 8 types of individuals, it's, of course, it's based on the sutta style of presentation, in which one is on the path of stream entry, the path of once returning, and so on, for an extended period of time, not just for a single mind moment. Okay, so that is the answer to that question. Now, okay, you want to continue now? Did you have more questions from your group, Stephen?
No, Bhante. Thank you very much for that answer.
Okay, so that is group 2. No.
Hello, Bhante. So our question is actually related to the sutta that you just talked about. And it has to do with the application within our practice, particularly if we are practicing alone and we are a beginner. And specifically, that is, how does one know that they are in the right path as far as the practice, particularly with entering the orderliness of rightness?
If one is just a beginner?
Yes.
I would say if one is just a beginner, one shouldn't really be worried or too much concerned about reaching what I call the fixed course of rightness, but just it's just good to be able to consult either with a meditation teacher or with advanced practitioners who will give one some guidance in one's practice. But that
Thank-
attainment of the fixed course of rightness that is entering the path of stream entry, again, as I said this morning, is quite an advanced attainment. So if one is a beginner, one shouldn't really be worried too much about that. Just be concerned that one is doing a correct practice and that one is not getting led astray by various distorting factors that arise in one's meditation practice. And I think it's always good and very wise, in my opinion, to go about one's practice in a humble way, not to be seeking, am I attaining this? Have I attained that? Did I realize this? Did I realize that? But just to think my task is to practice to overcome, gradually to overcome greed, hatred, and delusion. So let me examine myself honestly to see, am I reducing my greed, my attachment, my craving? Am I making progress in overcoming anger, ill will, resentment? Am I making progress in getting rid of envy and jealousy? Am I maturing in the good qualities like patience, humility, loving kindness, compassion? I think those are the things that for a beginner and middle level practitioner and even most advanced practitioners, those are the things we should be looking for rather than, I know of too many cases of people who go about boasting, oh, I attained this, I've realized that. They didn't realize this, they didn't attain that. And that can be rather a deviation from the correct course of practice.
Thank you very much, Bhante. And I'm going to ask one of our participants to unmute in case she had a question. This is Carolyn, and we ran out of time. So Carolyn, did you get your question answered during the breakout?
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Jane. I actually would appreciate a very maybe simple explanation of what is a formation, because I'm confusing it with perception and concepts.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't really like that word formation that Venerable Nyanamoli had used. Yeah, the Pali word is sankhara. And this, the way it's used in the Visuddhimagga, in the course of insight contemplation, it refers to like all conditioned phenomena. So the sankharas are conditioned phenomena. And all conditioned phenomena can be comprised within the 5 aggregates. So in effect, it means the phenomena that are included in the 5 aggregates. Yeah, so that's sankhara as the word is used in relation to the practice of insight meditation in these stages of insight. But the word sankhara, we also have encountered it in the formula for dependent origination, where it has a narrower meaning in relation to dependent origination. It means volitional activities, the volitional activities that create karma, that create wholesome and unwholesome karma. And then sankhara is also one of the 5 aggregates. Again, that's a narrower sense of the word. So that's the aggregate of, I translate this, the aggregate of volitional activities. And so there, as the aggregate of volitional activities, the sankharas are primarily volitions, acts of volition, but the aggregate of sankharas is used as a kind of broad category to include all the mental factors that don't fit into either feeling, perception, or consciousness. So all the other mental factors like greed, hate, and ignorance, mindfulness, wisdom, desire, determination, energy, the other defilements, the other wholesome qualities, all of those get sort of clustered and grouped into the aggregate of sankharas. Does that make the meaning clear?
It makes it clear, but I think I need to see a list and to really read it several times to
Yeah.
make it familiar. So if that's something you could share with us, I'd appreciate it. Otherwise,
Yeah, I had an article. I'll see if I could find it and give it for amongst the files to be shared, an article on the different meanings of sankhara in the Buddhist texts.
Thank you. And I think the question that Jane so kindly offered me to ask was about the simile of the cloud over the moon.
Yeah.
When the clouds, there are three elements. I don't have them in front of me. I'm sorry. I think peace, freedom, and liberation that you were mentioning occur. And I'm wondering, there's like a teaching in the Insight tradition that one can experience nibbana in any given moment, but it's so fleeting, sometimes we don't even notice or even note it. So could there, I guess, be a practice in a way, I don't like to say it that way, to really notice peace and really notice when you're feeling free or liberation, and that in the sense nibbana is always there, right? And we're just letting go of everything else that's obscuring it.
I wouldn't actually call that nibbana. Maybe those are just like momentary experiences of peace and freedom, or peace and a kind of inner freedom or blissful experience. But nibbana itself is an unconditioned Dhamma, an unconditioned state that has to be realized and experienced in this very profound, when insight reaches its peak, and then there comes the emergence from all conditioned phenomena, and the mind momentarily lands on nibbana as the unconditioned. But when they speak about, experiencing peace and freedom from moment to moment, I'd call that just temporary experiences of peace and freedom, but I wouldn't say that that's literally the experience of nibbana.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante. That's it from group 3.
Okay, we have group 4.
Yes, Bhante. Together, we also would like to have expressed our deep gratitude for this class and also for Bhante's teaching. The first question is regarding the stream enterer. So in chapter 22, paragraph 18, there was a description about stream enterer. So where it says, however negligent he may be, he is bound to make an end. So the question is regarding however negligent, if Bhante will be so kind to share.
Yeah, anyway, this is based on a verse that occurs in one of the most popular Buddhist suttas called the Ratana Sutta. Kinchapi so
Kaman Karoti?
I have to start then reciting it from the beginning. Kinchapi so hoti busapamata nate bhavamattamang adiyanti. Okay. Ye arya sachani vibhavayanti gambira panyena sudesi tani kinchapi te honti busapamata te kinchapi se te honti busapamata nate bhavamattamang adiyanti. So it said, one who understands, who is like directly understood the Four Noble Truths taught by the Buddha, the one of deep wisdom, even though he or she may be extremely heedless or negligent, they do not take an eighth existence. So it doesn't mean really that you can reach arhatship by continuing to be negligent or heedless, but this is referring to one who attains stream entry and then is not motivated strongly to go on striving in that life itself or even in subsequent lives for the attainment of arhatship. So they might pass now 6 more lives, even just faring on in rebirth amongst devas and human beings, enjoying worldly pleasures, but they still have those spiritual faculties of the stream enterer within them. And so by the time they reach the 7th existence, they'll be up, inspired and motivated to become diligent and vigorous in their striving. And then they'll reach the final goal by the 7th existence. Does that make it clear?
Of course. Thank you so much, Bande. So Bande, we have 2 more questions. The
Okay.
next question is regarding the knowledge of reflection. So in the book, it has reference to he again discerned same formation. So the question has to do with if he's discerning the same formation. So could there be a possibility to go from the knowledge of deliverance and directly onto the knowledge of void and skipping the reflection part?
Probably, as I said earlier, I don't think we have to take the sequence of insight knowledges to be something which is fixed and invariable for everybody, but it's an attempt by the ancient teachers to lay out maybe a common sequence of stages through which meditators go. But I don't, as I said, I don't think it's something which is fixed, inevitable, and obligatory for everybody to go through. It's possible to jump from a lower stage to a higher stage without passing through the intermediate stages, I would think.
Yes, Bande. And then lastly, so this is regarding the review process upon the attainment of path and fruition. So this would be the paragraph 19 of chapter 22. So they were the question was if Bande would be so kind to elaborate upon this review process of path, fruition, nibbana, and the defilements, please.
I don't think that I could really elaborate upon it much more than is already said in the Visuddhimagga. So it's just that it's pretty, I think it's pretty straightforward here, that the meditator goes through the experience of the path and fruition, and then coming out from fruition, then they'll just go back and look back, what have I gone through? What is the experience that I've gone through? And then they'll consider the path that they've attained. They'll sort of bring back the memory, insofar as it can be an objective memory, of the path experience, and then the fruition experience. And then they'll see what defilements they've eliminated with that path, what defilements remain to be eliminated. And I think to know what defilements remain to be eliminated, they would probably have to be referring to discourses, to the Buddhist texts, which lay out the different defilements eliminated by each of the paths. So they review the path, the fruition, they reflect back on nibbana as they experienced it in the path and fruit, and then the defilements eliminated and the defilements that remain. And as the Visuddhimagga says, it's not the case that all meditators consider the defilements that were eliminated and the defilements that remain. Maybe it would be the more learned practitioners who engage in those reflections. So that's pretty much all I can say about that.
Thank you so much, Bante.
Okay, so the next group. That's group number 5, I think.
Bante.
Yeah.
Breakout room number 5.
Yeah.
We have 2 questions. The
Yeah.
first question is does the stream enterer once returner, those enlightened person has choice what is the next rebirth destination?
I don't think that they are able to determine definitely what their next existence will be. All that can be said with certainty is that they won't be reborn in any of the 3 lower destinations. So there is a sutta, it occurs in the Majjhima Nikaya. I think it's sutta, let me see if I can remember which number. I think it's at number 120, called Rebirth According to One's Determination. And so that shows how one can make a determination to be reborn in a particular realm. But in order to fulfill that determination, one needs these appropriate supporting conditions. One could, if you're interested in that subject, one could look at that sutta to get the details. Okay, next.
Second question, you might already answer in the afternoon in the afternoon discourse. The
Yeah.
question is the object and quality of the change of lineage the same? Are they the same for all 4 stages of nobility?
Strictly speaking, change of lineage as such occurs only as the moment preceding the attainment of the path of stream entry. That is, when making the change from being an ordinary person to a stream enterer, then it's truly a change of lineage. But before the other path attainments, there is that moment connecting the conformity knowledge with the attainment of the path. And so that moment is called change of lineage, but it doesn't actually mean that one is changing from being a worldling to a noble one. But it's, maybe you could say it's a moment in which one is about to change from being a, say, from being a stream enterer to entering the path of the once returner. And then it's with the next attainment, it's the moment in which one is making the change from being a once returner to entering the path of the non-returner. And in the 4th case, it's the moment when one is making the change from being a non-returner to entering the path of arhatship. And so the commentaries sometimes refer to that moment in relation to the 3 higher paths. They call it vodana, which means cleansing rather than change of lineage. Okay, so that should take care of that question. Any other questions?
That's all from room number 5.
Okay, so next group.
Yeah, Bante, we too would like to express our gratitude for this retreat. It was outstanding. My question is, we have 3 questions. The first one is the student, he thinks that his notes may be inaccurate, but he asks, he says that you mentioned that an arahant who attains no rebirth will live in a state of nibbana. When he passes away, then he resides in non-conditioned nibbana. He's curious.
It's not that he continues as an individual living on in the state of the unconditioned nibbana. It means that the process of the 5, the process or sequence of the 5 aggregates comes to an end, so to speak, and
Yeah.
then it's replaced by the deathless, unconditioned nibbana. It's not that one goes on like we imagine living in heaven, that you go on with your preserving your identity, but now you're living in nibbana.
He has another part to this question. He also wants to know if non-conditioned could be translated as non-fabricated.
Yeah, somebody else, another monk, uses the translation unfabricated. It depends on one's own preference.
Okay, I have two other questions which I'm pretty sure that you addressed earlier. Maybe you would, after you hear them, you might revisit them for us. The first one is with strong affirmation, can one override the results of unwholesome karma?
This depends on many factors. Like if there are certain types of unwholesome karma that are bound to produce their results, those results of unwholesome karma are inescapable. But in other cases, if the unwholesome karma is probably in cases where it's weaker, if one generates and creates a lot of wholesome karma, it could either impede the unwholesome karma, blocking it from bringing results, or if the unwholesome karma is going to bring its results, the results will be weaker than if one doesn't create the unwholesome, if one doesn't accumulate the wholesome karma.
Okay, good. And the last one, I believe you also addressed earlier, but maybe you could revisit it again for us. This is since volitional action creates karma.
Yeah.
And since there is no self or agent,
Yeah.
then who makes the volitional choice?
Yeah, I thought that
Yes, you did.
sort of dealt with this. It's not the case that there is a self or agent or person that makes the volitional choice, but looking at this from the standpoint of the stream of consciousness. So within that stream of consciousness, there is a factor, a mental factor called volition or intention, chaitana, and it's that chaitana, that factor of volition, that makes the choices. Yeah, so it's an impermanent, conditioned act of volition. It makes the decision, or it is the intention behind the actions. And through that intention, this complex of body and mind performs the action. And then the action, once performed, creates the karma that will, at some future time, produce its result.
Well, that's it. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, maybe I see two more hands going up, but we're going to have to answer questions very briefly. So we'll have to see that the questions are simple and stated clearly. And so first will be Leil. How is your name pronounced?
Leiliati, Bhante.
Leiliati, okay, Leiliati.
Thank you, Bhante. I have this question in my mind quite some time. My question is, how do one practitioner or even higher achiever carry, if it make it short, and how the practitioner, if once has ended their life in one before they attain the final goal, and what could bring to the next life for them to carry on or motivate the practice. If possibly this, for example, the stream enterer, how do they know that they are in the second birth to carry on? Possibly, if my understanding correctly, they may not be able to know whether their second rebirth in they suddenly maybe they're practicing again and achieve quicker rather than the other practitioner.
Yeah, I don't know how that would occur, but it would seem that once you become a stream enterer, then you have, in the next life, one has a spontaneous attraction to the Dhamma. I would think that if one is a stream enterer and one is reborn in the human world, one will be reborn under conditions where you quickly encounter the Dhamma again, and you immediately recognize that sort of the Dhamma is your natural spiritual field, and then you'll just pick up and then continue. How the person recognizes again that they had achieved stream entry in a previous life, I don't know the answer to that.
Yes, I believe so, because no one know actually what level they are in, and that dependent on the personal. Yeah. And also I heard the one thing that could carry on is possibly the consciousness, stream consciousness.
Yeah.
Is that true? From relying on the fifth aggregate.
For every living being, it's the stream of consciousness that continues on from life to life. Though the consciousness is not remaining the same like a single self, but it's a stream of consciousness always changing, but it preserves the tendencies, dispositions, inclinations, interests, aptitudes, and so on from the previous existences. And so once a person becomes a stream enterer, they will carry on into the next life the achievements that they made as a stream enterer in this life.
Okay.
Okay, so next person, this is Jane, I think.
Bhante, we have a question from someone listening on YouTube.
Yeah.
The question is, if a noble one is reborn as a human being, must he or she re-experience previously attained stages of awakening before progressing to higher stages?
No, it's not the case that they have to go again through stream entry and once return, say they've passed away as a once returner and they come back to human life. They don't have to go through stream entry again. But when they come back as a once returner, then once they start to practice and undertake the training, then their next attainment will be that of a non-returner. They don't have to go through the once returning, through the stream entry again.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, Mary Guo.
Thank you, Bhante. Sorry, I wasn't sure what was going on for the unmute. So my question was that I still have some difficulty in terms of understanding the change of lineage. There was an example or analogy that was saying the linear of change that is comparable to eyes at the end of the chapter 22 somewhere there.
Yeah, that didn't make good sense to me. That's why I sort of dismissed that simile. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go on.
Yeah, so I was hoping you could actually further just talk more about that analogy so that I understand that better, but I guess it's...
Yeah, I had some problem with that simile. It didn't really work so well.
Okay, is there maybe any other examples that I can refer to in any passage in the chapter that I can learn deeper?
I think the simile that's given of the man who's trying to cross the river and he runs towards the river, then he grabs the rope hanging or the vine hanging down from a tree, then leaps across the river and then drops onto the ground on the other side and shaking when he gets to that ground. That is the change of lineage. Of course, the ground on the other side is Nibbana, and then he steadies himself. That is the path. I think that's a fairly good simile. But all similes are somewhat defective, so don't grasp too tightly to similes.
Okay, thank you so much, Bhante.
Okay, Elena.
Thank you, Bhante. I really don't have one specific question because the the text in your teachings are so rich that it will take me a whole year to decipher my questions. But I just wanted to express my deep appreciation for your teaching and for your generosity in sharing the Dharma. And I hope that we can have this again soon and that next year we meet again. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Sud.
Thank you, Bhante. Just have a quick question. With regards to these attainers that are so difficult to attain in a single life, how does a layperson who is just a beginner practitioner continue to practice and then hopefully get another rebirth to continue to kind of come in across Dhamma again and then again and again? Is there something for non-stream enterers or just putujanas to attain to another life that actually where somebody is exposed to Dhamma?
Yeah, I would say that's a very important question. And I would say that it is done by taking very deep and sincere refuge in the three refuges, and then engaging, developing various wholesome activities, not only meditation, but also practicing dana or generosity, observing the precepts, and learning the Dhamma so that you can clarify your understanding of the Dhamma, and then forming a determination that let me continue in life after life to follow the Dhamma till I reach the final goal. So it's that sort of the support of the meritorious activities, guided under the heading of the sense of refuge in the three jewels, and the clear understanding of the principles of the Dhamma through study, reflection, and practice that will sort of keep one connected to the Buddha Dharma.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Really
take
appreciate it.
one last question, then we'll have to stop. This is Susan in Singapore. You.
Okay, so Bhante,
Yeah.
I feel very lost because all the questions I hear are about stream enterer and they're all very lofty. Is every one of our participants in such a high state that I feel like just a worm? I'm lucky if I can meditate 10 minutes. So what are my chances?
No, I think a lot of the questions, like just the question that was just asked, like he was speaking from a standpoint of, he said, I'm a beginner. How do I ensure that I remain connected to the Dhamma in future lives? So that wasn't from such a lofty perspective. So I say, don't really worry if you consider yourself to be a relative beginner. Just accomplish whatever you can. Even if you have trouble practicing 10 minutes, make the determination still to continue to sit for 10 minutes. And it's a matter of building up strength and capacity through continued practice and dedication. So even those who become fully enlightened Buddhas, who become great Arahant disciples, all of those started as ordinary people just like ourselves. They didn't start off in that position. So what one has to do is to learn the Dhamma and see whatever practices one is capable of, and then go on undertaking those practices, but constantly challenging oneself to do more, to go further.
Saranam Gacchami.
Okay, I think now we have to bring an end to the question session and an end to the retreat. And we want to end with certain word of thanks. Whoops, now I've lost. Okay, so now we are coming to the very end of the retreat. So let us give some word of thanks. First, I have to thank Stephen Seward and Kaidi Shu for being the coordinators for this retreat. And then in addition to Stephen and Kaidi, we've had the assistance of a team of tech support and facilitators. Of course, this year we've done the retreat in a somewhat different way than we've done it in previous years. In previous years, we've always done it as an in-person retreat, in which case it's, you know, we don't have to rely so much on the internet for the retreat. But now we have a team of people who have been helping constantly over the last 4 days. So the members of the tech support team and the breakout group facilitators were Stephen Sass, Jane Du, Yvonne Tsung, Beth Jacobs, Vaishali Gaidami, Osman Boy Hollingworth, Johnny Wang, Simon Yang, Kaidi Shu, Siu, well, Kaidi I already mentioned, Siu Koswata, and Yorong Avis. So did I cover everyone, Kaidi?
Yes, Bante, I think you are. Thank you so much.
Okay. And of course, I want to thank all of the participants for joining this retreat and for sticking with it through all 4 days. I see when we started, I think we had about 116 people, so it seems we lost about maybe 14 along the way, or perhaps they're not able to participate because they're in an inconvenient time zone. And then there are other people, I believe, who have joined on YouTube. So probably we have even more people, including the YouTube group. So I thank all of you for participating, for joining in the discussion, raising questions, and attending very carefully. And are there other matters to be discussed, Kaidi?
Yes, Bante, some participants, they wish to express their gratitude to you after we share the merits.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, because instead of chaotic, if everyone speak at the same time, it probably will be chaotic. So I will propose that everyone just unmute yourself and speak one at a time. And then you just, after you speak to Bante, you just leave on your own. And because if you click on the participate list, everyone will see there's a list alphabetically. So I think Yvonne can help to unmute the next person. And
Well, wait,
so,
if everyone is going to speak one
yeah.
by one, there's more than 100 people here. That could take.
We only have 3 seconds to say thank you, Bante.
No, I don't think that's necessary. That's going to take close to an hour just for people to say thank you. It's enough that they keep it in their heart and mind.
Okay.
Thinking thank you.
Okay.
Did you wanted to have some discussion about forming a virtual lay community?
Yeah.
But I think you should do that after we conclude the sharing of the merits.
Yes.
And
So,
then did you discuss the library yet?
oh, Bante, I already did during the tea break time. I already introduced the e-library and also introduced Stephen's party class.
Yeah.
We have done that already. And we also, Yvonne also helped to talk about the Dhamma to Laos. Yeah, and we have finished that as well. But I think I would like to invite all the facilitators to stay after the meeting in the same room. After all the participants left, we can spend maybe 15 to half an hour to talk about the retreat and see if there are any further like enhancement that we can do to facilitate the future virtual event or hybrid event possibly.
Okay, okay. So let us do then the final sharing of the merits. So now we consider that over the past 4 days, we've been listening to the Dhamma, teaching the Dhamma, discussing the Dhamma, doing devotional recitations and meditation. So this is creating and generating what we call a great mass of punya, of meritorious karma. And now we want to share the merit with other beings. And so you can do, let's do first like a 5-minute meditation of loving kindness in which you, on your own, not guided, you just generate thoughts of goodwill, of loving kindness towards the world, as if you were sending out the beams of your merit over the world to protect the human and even the animal population from all harm and danger. And you could also think of any of your beloved relatives or friends who have passed away recently, sharing the merits with them. And then I will, at the end of 5 minutes, then I will recite the verses for sharing the merit with the devas, that's the Dhamma protecting deities, the nagas or dragon spirits, and the bhutas, the fierce spirits, and then with all beings. Okay, so let us sit quietly doing the loving kindness meditation. Just generating the thought, may all beings be well, may all beings be happy, may all beings be safe from harm and danger. Okay, now I'm going to recite the verses for sharing the merits. You continue to generate the loving kindness. Akasata cha bhumata deva naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu sasanang. Akasata cha bhumata deva naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu desanang. Akasata cha bhumata deva naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu mang parang. Etavata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etavata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etavata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe sata anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Bhavagopadaya avici hetato etantare satakayupapanna rupya rupicha asanya sanino dukkha pamuchantu pusantu nibuting. Okay, then you go
Sadhu,
sadhu, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, and then
Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Wait. First, to end, we have to do 3 bows to the Buddha to conclude. Okay, do first bow, 1 bow. Second bow. And third bow.
Bow to Bhante. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay,
Thank
so
you,
now we can-
Sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you very much, Bhante. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you, Bhante.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Much love. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you for everyone too.
Bye.
Hi, Kaiti and Yvonne. Oh, did we stop the YouTube live yet? Let me stop the recording.
Yes, and then we should stop live as well. Yeah. And a few participants still in the room. So I'm going to remove you and thank you for your participation. We will see you sometime soon. Okay. Yoron, please stay if you can.
Heidi, I think YouTube is still running. Probably Yvonne has to, or maybe you.
Oh, I'm sorry, me. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot.